And when I rise, let me rise like a bird joyfully. And when I fall, let me fall like a leaf gracefully with no regret. And when I rise, let me rise like a bird joyfully. And when I fall, let me fall like a leaf gracefully with no regret.
Good morning, everybody. We're glad that you're here with us. This is South Church, Unitarian Universalist Church. We're so glad that you could join us. If this is your first time here, we welcome you warmly and we hope that you'll keep coming. If you've been attending for a long time, we welcome you also into this community that is a Unitarian Universalist community of care and compassion, love, and support. We are Unitarian Universalists, and as such, we function by guidelines and principles and purposes that help us to be better people and to live better lives in the world that we're a part of. I am relatively new to South Church, and I have taken time during the welcomes each week to tell you a little bit about myself. And this morning it came to me that I hadn't shared too much about who I am personally and some of the people in my life. So I'll tell you that I am the mother of 2 boys. Scott lives in California with his wife Stephanie and their 3 children. And Eric lives in Winchington with his wife Andrea and my grandson Kevin, who pops in now and then at staff meetings and waves and say hello. My spouse Ron has children, and they have 3 grandchildren between them, Jessica and her husband Chris and Jason and Linda. And so that gives us 7 grandkids between the 2 of us. You may have noticed this morning, and or certainly something that has come to Kirsten and my attention, is that when we do these virtual recordings, there's a little chirping noise in the background. At first, we thought something was wrong with the computer or my sound system. And then what we discovered and I remembered is that we have birds. We have finch and parakeets. And the finch are relatively new, having been born in the beginning of January. They are society and zebra finch, which tells you a lot about me and us, that we love birds. Bird watching is one of my hobbies, as is British movies and British humor, vegetarian, and very connected to the community. And it reminds me that on Monday, I'll be going to Mount Wachusett Community College and doing a recording for the Invocation and Benediction at Mount Wachusett Community College. Graduated from there many, many years ago, but also have been asked to do invocations and benedictions for the last 25 years. It's important in this virtual time that we stay connected, that we know that people care, that we are here for one another, even in this funny virtual world. And this morning, we are so happy that you're here for worship. This morning, our worship associate is Laurie Bilby, and she is joined by Rebecca Hennessy, who will be delivering the message this morning. And there is a whole slew of worship team people behind us who make bringing you worship possible. We have Joanne Connolly, who always does an invocation. We have Susan Adams, the pianist. Our RE coordinator is Jen Del Deo. Our director of Lifespan Ministries is Kirsten Hunter. And Jen Lyons is our office coordinator. And we want to give a special shout out and thanks to Pip Clues. All this video, all this technical stuff has been pulled together by her. And we appreciate the countless hours that she has put in. There are some general things that you should know about us as just before we enter into worship. And I want you to know that we have a video or Zoom social hour right following the service, and that will be posted at the end in the chat line and also in an email that you received yesterday. And speaking of chat lines and comments, you may notice that people do comment during specific parts of the service, and we welcome you at the beginning, certainly, to come in and say hello. But if you do not want to be distracted by those comments or chats, you can find your way out of it in 2 different ways. One, you can enlarge your screen, and or second, you can go to the bottom of the comment or chat line and disable it. So we are so happy that you're here for worship. We welcome you all. We hope you'll join us for a social time after. Let us be together in worship.
The Pocket Garden Tour is reorganizing to the weekend of September 11th and 12th. But you can sow some seeds of support right now by purchasing a bloom and having your name and message in the brochure as a supporter. Blooms can be purchased at the South Church website. Have you been enjoying the videos and picture montages you've been seeing during our Sunday services? If so, we invite you to take part in this week's weekly challenge. Next Sunday is Mother's Day, and for next week's photo challenge, we would like to see pictures of each of you and your mothers or mother-like figures. Your picture can be from any year. Just let us know the approximate year and whether it's okay for us to show your name with the photo. Please send your photos to Jen Del Deo at southchurch-uu.org by next Thursday morning. And the senior youth are organizing a local community food drive. They've been looking for ways to give back to the community and the community at large during this time of crisis. There are families in need, but the current COVID situation is putting more financial stress on more people. The senior youth would like to host a food drive to help our local bank support people and families that are struggling. On May 7th and 8th, senior youth members and their parents will drive around the local communities to pick up food donations from our generous South Church members. If you would like to contribute, please contact Paula Boyven and let us know you would like to. Please include your physical address in the email. On the delivery days, leave your bag of food by your front door or other specified location when you email us by noontime. Senior youth members will pick up sometime after noon and deliver the donations to Gather, a food pantry in Portsmouth. Some of the current specific needs include soup, rice, peanut butter, dish soap, and shampoo.
Hi, my name's Jesse Lohr, and I'm a member of the South Church Ministerial Search Committee, and I'm coming to you to ask you for help this week in some important work that we're doing. Your search committee continues to work hard to find the best possible minister for South Church, and right now, our main focus is on making South Church and our community shine so that we can attract the best possible candidates. To that end, we're focusing on the South Church website, which is our virtual front door, and we want to set a warm and authentic tone for prospective ministers or to anybody who's looking for a spiritual home on the Seacoast. So the Ministerial Search Committee, working along with the Board of Trustees, would like to update the homepage of South Church, and we need your help to do so. So what we would like you, our congregation, to do is to tell us, what do you think best captures the spirit of South Church in words or in thoughts, and send us any photos or videos or other content you might have of South Church that is going to help us to update the website to really represent South Church well to prospective ministers and candidates. We would like you to please send anything that you have to an email address. It's searchcommittee@southchurch-uu.org. That's searchcommittee@southchurch-uu.org. And thank you so much for helping us, your search committee, to find the best minister possible.
One of the things I like best about having left my full-time job in Boston 3 years ago is the change in my morning routine. I'm still an early riser, but the alarm no longer goes off at 4:30, so I can stay ahead of the worst of the traffic. In fact, most days I don't set an alarm, and that feels a lot gentler. My usual morning, of course, after the animals are attended to, involves in part hot, steaming coffee and some screen time. The news, headlines, a little social media, the New York Times Daily Spelling Bee and crossword puzzles, the weather forecast, and of course, making a generally overly ambitious to-do list. Although I must admit that I've been skipping that a little bit in this stay-at-home time, and I'm not sure why. What I do know, though, is that I'm spending even more than the usual amount of time just looking out the windows in my sunroom, paying attention to the trees, monitoring what's happening in the garden, what's about to bloom, what's gone by, what needs me to do something to it. I have to know exactly what branch that woodpecker is pounding away on. I keep the bird feeder filled, and each visitor feels a little bit more like a guest these days. The goldfinches, the male ones, are resplendently yellow despite a pretty chilly spring. The squirrels and the chipmunks are cavorting and tunneling, sure, in places that I would rather the chipmunks didn't tunnel. And I wonder if this noticing, this looking a little bit more, is because in the moment time just seems a little bit slower, even though the days and the weeks still seem to fly by. And I also wonder if there's just more to see out there, outside, with fewer people around and fewer cars on the roads. One day in the past week, I stopped to let a fox cross the road. It wasn't in a particular hurry, and neither was I, so I chatted him or her up for a moment and snapped a photo. Another day this week, there were 4 shaggy deer outside, and since they were eating my neighbor's grass and not my hostas, it felt like I was having a party. Almost like having people over. As I light my chalice this morning, I hope you will take a moment to do the same with yours. Invite the light into your home and into your heart as we contemplate these words from Catherine McTeague. And though we each walk with a vast loneliness, the promise we offer here is that we do not walk alone. This is a holy place. In this we gather. The light of the earth brought in and held, touched then by our answering light. The flame on a chalice, the flicker of a candle, the lamps of our open faces brought near. In this place of silence and celebration, solemnity and music, we make a sanctuary and name our home. Let's join together in reading our mission statement. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Hi, everybody. We're back again to share another Time for All Ages story that was written this week by 3 of us. You can see that we have a special guest with us here that some of you may not have seen for a while. Kat Lyons is joining us. She's a member of our RE staff team. She has been spending Sunday evenings with our high school youth. So they've gotten to see her regularly, but a lot of us haven't gotten to see her face in a while, so it's really nice to have her here with us. The story we're sharing today is called The Last Cookie.
This is a story that's about cookies and choices. Cedar's family was stuck at home for lots and lots of days. The family was close and they sure did love each other. A whole big lot, but it wasn't easy to be together as much as they were having to be together. There was a lot of boredom and lots of snacking. One thing that helped the family feel better was baking. That was an activity that everyone in the family could get into. They'd take turns measuring and stirring, cracking eggs and scooping. Then the creation would go in the oven, the house would smell good, and they'd have tasty treats when they were done.
Well, one recent day, they were going through the big box of recipes and came across Great-Grandma's famous cookie recipe. It had been a long time since anyone in Cedar's family had tasted these cookies, and they were super excited to make them. Someone mixed the butter and sugar. Someone added a couple eggs. There was some careful measuring of flour, baking soda, and salt. Cedar liked adding the chocolate chips best. In went a thoughtful pinch of certain special ingredients, and then mixing, scooping, and in the oven they went. You know what happened pretty soon? The house filled right up with the big, beautiful smell of warm, delicious, can't wait to get them in your belly cookies.
After a few long minutes, there were 11 very big cookies on a special plate. There were 5 people in Cedar's family, and they each ate one as soon as the cookies had cooled just enough. Oh my goodness. They were warm and sweet, slightly crunchy, and just the right kind of chewy. Amazing. The cookies were big, but they all felt like they really wanted another. They had started with 11. Each of the 5 people in the family had eaten one, and so there were still 6 cookies left. Even the parents agreed that a second cookie would be a good idea. So they each took a second one and savored the sweet, crunchy, chewy perfection that Great-Grandma's recipe had created. So good, it was like a dream. After they had eaten their second cookie, there was one last big, beautiful cookie on the special plate. The parents asked everyone to leave it there, said not to touch it, and it was time to go play outside.
The weather was sunny and lovely, and the children played hard. It felt so good to move their bodies, and they ran, biked, climbed, and tumbled. So much fun. After a good long while, Cedar got thirsty and went into the house for a glass of water. And there was that last cookie, still sitting on the special plate. It looked just as tasty as the others had been. All the playing had made Cedar pretty hungry again, and that cookie really wanted to be eaten.
Nobody was around. The rest of the family was still outside. Cedar remembered the parents' words. Leave the last cookie. Don't touch it. But what would happen to that cookie? Who would get to eat it? Cedar was the smallest member of the family, and surely someone else would be the one to eat it. It didn't seem fair. Cedar reached out a hand toward the cookie, but then paused. What should a kid do in this difficult situation?
I should leave it. My parents told me to leave it. There aren't enough for everybody. If I eat it, everyone will be really mad at me. But I really want that cookie. If I don't eat it right now, somebody else will. They don't have to know it was me. I can tell them the dog ate it. And since the dog can't talk, they'll believe me.
Cedar ate the cookie, and it tasted so good. Not quite as good as the first warm one did, but it was still yummy. Then Cedar ran back outside to play so nobody would get suspicious. A bit later, it was time for everyone to go back into the house and get cleaned up. Right away, the parents noticed the empty plate and wondered who had eaten the last cookie. They all looked at each other and shrugged. No one seemed to know. Cedar felt a bit nervous, but shrugged like everyone else. When someone asked, "Cedar, did you eat the cookie?" Cedar said,
No, I'm pretty sure the dog did. I saw her licking the crumbs off her paws.
Well, then things got a little scary. Dogs can get very sick from eating chocolate, and the cookies had chocolate chips in them. The family panicked and tried to decide what to do. They loved their dog and didn't want her to be sick. Of course, the dog hadn't eaten the cookie, but now Cedar would get caught if the truth came out. The parents made a plan. The dog would go to the emergency animal hospital. They packed what was needed, got the dog in the car, found the keys, and just before the car started backing up in the driveway, Cedar said,
I wish I could just go back in time and make a different choice.
And all of a sudden, the air felt cold and quiet, and whoosh! Cedar was somehow back in the kitchen alone, standing in front of that last delicious cookie. It was as if the past half hour had been a dream. The dog was sleeping, and the rest of the family were outside playing.
I really want that cookie. If I don't eat it right now, someone else will. They don't have to know it was me. I can tell them the dog ate it. And since the dog can't talk, they'll believe me. But my parents told me to leave it. Something deep in my heart is telling me that it is a bad idea not to listen.
Cedar left the cookie on the plate, ran back outside, and joined back in the game the family was playing. When they came back in afterward, Dad surprised everyone by cutting up the last yummy cookie and giving out a piece to each one of the people in their family.
Cedar would think back on that day for many, many years and wonder if something magic had happened. We'll never know for sure, but one thing was certain. That day taught Cedar something about how our choices can affect those we love. Every day after, they felt a little wiser about who they wanted to be in the world. They appreciated their dog a lot more, and they kept loving cookies a whole lot.
Sometimes it is really hard to make the right choice. And we have lots of choices we have to make every day. The cool thing is that almost always, choices that we face tend to come back around again and again. And if you make the wrong choice one day, you can choose to make a different choice the next day. And that's pretty neat. Thanks for being here with us today, everybody. We love you. See you soon.
Imagine the possibilities for generosity as we virtually extend an offering basket to you right now. The work of South Church is ongoing, and we need and appreciate all of the donations made via the donation button on our website and by your checks sent via snail mail to the church office. Our new shared plate recipient for this month of May is NAMI New Hampshire, a nonprofit organization that seeks to improve the lives of those affected by mental illness. You'll see in just a moment how you can help in this important work. Please give as you are able.
Hello, South Church friends. I'm Ken Norton from NAMI New Hampshire, and I'd like to thank you for your ongoing support of NAMI New Hampshire and our mission to improve the lives of all people impacted by mental illness and suicide. We face challenging times right now with COVID and meeting the mental health needs of the general population who are dealing with stress and anxiety, of people with pre-existing mental health conditions, as well as for our frontline healthcare workers. And I'd like to offer this reading with permission from the author. It's from the book Perseverance, page 39. The author's Margaret Wheatley. And I think it gives us a guide to how we need to operate in these challenging times, which you will find helpful as I did. And it's called Lost. When we are overwhelmed and confused, our brains barely function. We reach for the old maps, the routine responses, what worked in the past. This is a predictable response, yet also suicidal. If we keep grasping for things to look familiar, if we frantically try and fit new problems and situations into old ways of thinking, we'll continue to wander lost and eventually collapse from our confusion. There's no way to get out of this wilderness except to acknowledge that we're lost. Recognizing our situation usually leads at first to even wilder grasping after old solutions. Yet there's nothing new we can learn about this strange new world until we stop grasping, pause, calm down, and look around. The first thing we would notice is the most essential. We're still here. This in and of itself makes our situation workable. We don't have to panic about our situation. We need to acknowledge it. Yes, we're lost, but in truth we're not. We're right here. As we relax enough to tune in, we'll be able to notice the information and signals that are everywhere around us. There's sufficient information right here to help us find our way out. But we have to be willing to stop, to listen, to admit we don't know. To navigate life today, we definitely need new maps. Our old ones confuse us unendingly. These new maps are waiting for us. They'll appear as soon as we quiet down and with our other lost companions relax into the unfamiliarity of this new place, senses open, curious rather than afraid. The maps we need are in us, but not in only one of us. If we read the currents and signs together, we'll find our way through. So thanks to your support, NAMI New Hampshire is innovating and looking for ways to connect with people virtually and to make sure that social distancing doesn't become social isolation. We thank you and we hope that you and your families are safe and well.
We enter into this time of prayer, holding in our hearts and our minds all the prayers that I invite you to write in the comments section. We are very aware that we don't have the live conversations with you, and that we're sorry that we're not able to respond immediately to your prayer request unless you put them in the chat box for us. Please know that someone will be looking over and be in touch with you, and you can always reach out to your pastoral associates and to me and to the office if you have any immediate pastoral needs. We are here for you. So I invite you into a time of settling into yourself, settling into your sources that will bring you strength and courage. Let you center yourself enough so that you can be of help to this world which so much needs our attention and our love. We hold in our hearts and in our minds those who brought concerns to us last week, those who have had deaths of loved ones, deaths of people around them, facing illnesses, facing unknown, remembering those who still labor the fire departments and the iron workers and the shipyards and the grocery workers and the nurses and the doctors and the healthcare people, all the people who continue to help to make our world as safe as it is possible to do. We know that this is a time of tremendous isolation, tremendous loneliness, and tremendous feeling like we are alone. But remember, you are not. We are here. We are here with you and for you. So I would invite you into a moment of prayerful reflection. Be grateful for all the people around you. Be grateful for the spring that is unfolding, although ever so slowly. Be grateful for what we do have. And let us be grateful that we can gather in prayer and remember and support others. For it is being together, it is by centering, it is by finding the source of our courage, strength, and wisdom that we can go forth and bless this world. For all who are in pain or suffering, feeling lost, feeling isolated, I encourage you to write your comments so that we may be in touch with you. And with your permission, bring your name and the thing that you are holding most forward in next week's prayer. And after a time of music and silence, we will have a time of meditation. May you all be blessed. So be it. Amen.
Hello and good morning. It is good to be with you in this still a little bit weird, but really wonderful way. I'd like to ask that we take a few minutes to think about South Church, about the building itself. There will be some images to focus on, or you can close your eyes if you'd like. I invite you to think about the South Church sanctuary, that beautiful, sheltering space. If there is another sanctuary you'd like to focus on or think about, please do. There are no unsacred places, in the words of Wendell Berry. Remember entering the sanctuary. Remember how it feels to arrive in a place that is special to you. See and feel the light, how it comes through the impossibly large windows, each pane, each mullion framing a slightly different view. How the rows and rows of evenly spaced pews give structure, and the rosy pink cushions offer a welcome. Bring your focus to the chalice, a spark. Imagine it lit and glowing. And in your mind, I invite you to look around the sanctuary. Find the thing you want to find. Hum the hymn that hums inside of you when you are there. Sing the song you long to hear. Or be still. Collect peaceful silence in your body and mind. Allow what may be for you a longing to be in that special place. Allow that feeling to rise or surface in you. And then let it fall away in rhythm with your breathing. And now, specific to South Church on Sunday mornings, remember with me the time in our service when we are invited to stand and recite our mission statement. When, often aided by the pew in front of us, we reach out and take hold and pull ourselves up, rising together as best we know how to unite our voices around what we are called to be, what we are called to celebrate. Feel the warmth and care that memory offers to you. And know we will be together again, in body as we are in spirit, together under that gently arching ceiling and within the strength of those thick granite walls. It only took 49 steps to get to my favorite place in all the world when I was a kid. Fewer steps if I ran from the back door of my house to the rough red trunk of the tallest pine tree I ever knew. It grew at the low edge of a long and gently sloping field, rooted in where the soil was dark and damp through spring. Its lowest branch within my reach. One day, it was a Sunday, I found 4 dead birds scattered small on the ground near the trunk, the featherless bodies not far from an overturned nest. I knew the birds, or at least I felt I did. I had climbed the tree many times, and for a few days had peered, carefully and from a distance, over the lip of the nest to look at the miracles inside. When I saw the bodies of the birds on the ground, I somehow and spontaneously knew what I had to do. I turned and ran back to my house for the box I kept under my bed with the initials CTR written in red on the lid. Dumping out the contents, I returned to the tree with the box in one hand and the shovel in the other. Burying the birds took the time it took, 15 minutes, an hour, I don't know. I remember taking the time I needed to do the best that I could. As clear as that memory is for me, it is the clarity of my conviction that holds it timeless and whole. The experience, all of it, the tree as my favorite place, the measured distance to its lowest welcoming branch, my joy at what I witnessed, what I felt, learned from its branches, and of course, the birds. From my knees, placing the box in the earth and covering it with dark soil. The experience secured in me an understanding that I was a part of the natural world, and the natural world was a part of me. And I think it is the moment when I first began to believe that caring, that taking care, is an act of prayer. I tell you this story today because I hope it sparks something inside of you, that it might surface a memory for you from your own life. I suspect we all have memories that turn us, move us, direct our bodies, hearts, and minds towards a knowledge about who we are, a buried strength that may be important to reconnect with now. And I include the detail of the letters on the lid of the box, CTR, because they're just too perfect, the way life can be better than fiction. The initials stood for Choose the Right, a program for young girls I was enrolled in at the time, a sort of Boy Scout model where badges were earned for doing good deeds, completing projects, or learning new skills. I include it because we are all learning new skills right now. These days are difficult, and we are all experiencing these days differently. In this time of worry, uncertainty, fear, grief, and death, we can lose sight of what we know about ourselves, lose touch with who we are and who we want to be. The suffering we read about and witness can make our own suffering more difficult to process. Stories, memories, meditations on sanctuary help us remember, I think, something about our own suffering, and that will help us meet with care and compassion the suffering we feel and see in the world. And it may be important to remember that every sanctuary has known joy and sorrow, confusion and grief. Every sanctuary has known frustration, disappointment and fear, regret and love. Yes, always love. One of the harder skills we will need to learn is to understand and accept that things cannot go back to normal. That to some degree, going back to normal is impossible and would be a failure anyway. Our mission statement suggests that we have always known going back has never been the answer, that our liberation and the liberty of every living thing is bound together and always has been. What does it mean to be a person who believes in the inherent worth and dignity of all people? What does it mean to be a person of liberation right now? What we have learned from this pandemic is that we are interconnected deeply, globally, and in ways we could not perceive. It has shown us how much we need each other, that everyone and everything is connected. Yes, there is so much collective grief, economic hardship, and bewildering national leadership. Yet it gives me comfort to know there are communities all over the world longing to gather in sacred spaces, in sanctuary, but they are not. They are not gathering, but are caring for one another from a distance, learning new skills in recognition of this profound simplicity. Everything is connected. During these past weeks, I have plugged into many and any sources of information that I could get my ears and eyes on. Maybe you too. And one of the days that was also a week in the year of April, when my attention was a kind of skipping stone leaping across the hard, glossy surface of the internet as reflected in my computer screen, I plunked into this, a monologue from a play. Written by Lee Hall in 1997, the play is called Spoonface Steinberg. The words of the monologue offered me a kind of stunning, even shocking relief and energy. They returned me to myself somehow. I heard the words as a lesson in ways to feel, praise, and even marvel at the connections between us and the interconnections we are learning to know and care about, between humans and bats, between neighbors and strangers, between the challenges and privileges of technology, between our hand and a doorknob, between ideas of who we are and what is essential and why, between us and the ones we love and cannot touch. I'm going to close with the words of Spoonface, an 8-year-old girl who is autistic and dying with cancer. She has been given a book by her doctor about prayer. The monologue is in the language of God. It is easy enough to translate if you'd like. And before we went home, the doctor gave this book to me, but I can't read, so I have to get my mom to read it to me. And then I found all this stuff out, like that you have to pray to God, and this would help get on his good side. And even if you did die, he'd help look after you afterward. And in the book, it said that there are different ways you can pray. Like when you get up and say things is one way. And then there is like when you go to synagogue and then everybody does it all together. And then there is a different way that was invented by people in Poland quite a while ago, when everything you do is a prayer. And you have to do everything you do as best you can, because it is not just normal doing, because it's a smile straight up to God. When you smile, it is a prayer. When you talk, that is a prayer. When you walk, brush your teeth, go to bed, that is a prayer. And when you pray, that is a prayer. When you spit, suck, when you laugh, when you dance, when you snore, everything you do is a prayer. Especially what you do when you meet other people. Because all the people in the world are in God's kingdom. All the animals, all the birds and bees, all the fishes and swans, llamas and piglets and trees, all the buses and cars and people and all that. Because when the world was made, God made it out of magic sparks. And everything that is in it is all made of magic sparks. And all the magic sparks went into things deep down, and everything has a spark. May it be so. May it spark so.
I invite all of you to extinguish your chalice with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
May we continue to live lives of care. May we continue to do the best we can for ourselves and for all others. May we turn toward compassion and greet the spark in everything. May we be kind. May we connect. And may we be well. Amen.